What is up, YouTube? We are back. I know it's been a long, long wait. It's been a couple days since Super Bowl. We're filming this on Wednesday, but I wanted to kind of fully soak in and give my thoughts on what happened in the Super Bowl, along with some stuff going on in the off season. So, with that being said, if you're new here, this is the Fumble Pod, and I'm your host, Dalton Lee. Let's just jump right on into it. So, the Super Bowl, we almost couldn't even predict the score any better than we did. We projected 28-13. The score was 29-13. The only confusing thing was how we got there. Got the team right, but it's just how we got there. So, the great defense by both teams to start this game. Truly. The only first four scores we had were all field goals by Seattle. Shout out Jason Myers. Robbed the MVP, in my opinion. But that's besides the point. I will say early on in the game, I don't think Sam was fully comfortable. They got the ball to start, and they put together a really good drive and got a field goal out of it. But there were a couple passes where I'm like, ooh, that should have been a pick. I think the first pass of the day, which was a little just 5 yard out on third down to AJ Barner, and I mean the safety read it perfectly, jumped it perfectly. It just went right through his hands into Barner's that went to that turned into a first down. It's like, ooh, Sam, let's if we're gonna throw that, let's throw it on time because we threw it a little late there and safety was all over it. Then there was another play later on, I think on a crucial second or third down to Cooper Kupp. A, I don't think he caught it in bounds, but they were able to get the next play off. And B, Christian Gonzalez was all over it. It was like, ooh, Sam, this gonna be a rough day. They were able to get points on that drive. There were a couple throws that I thought Sam Darnold was just a tick late or a little underthrown and really could have turned into some turnovers, but the DBs just could not come up with them. The only big plays really by the Patriots defense were a lot of tackles for loss and sacks. I think they had like 3 or 4 on the day. The Patriots defense, in my opinion, still had a really highly efficient day. What really let them down was the offense. Drake May couldn't do a whole lot. That offensive line got bullied all day between the two rookies, mainly Will Campbell. Will Campbell did get kind of pushed around all day. There were several times that he was just blown off the ball, bullied ball. I mean, there was a play, I believe it was DeMarcus Lawrence, one-on-one, and he is just driving Will Campbell straight into Drake May's lap. And it's like, there's nothing Drake May can do there. There's guys just bullying his offensive line or coming through untouched, and he's just fighting for his life. At one point, the game was 19-0. The first touchdown didn't come till middle third quarter. The Seahawks were able to put together a nice little drive and went heavy play action. AJ Barner wide open. About the only blown coverage for the Patriots all day. And it's like, ooh, finally. At this point, it had been nothing but field goals. And then we get to the fourth quarter, and the Patriots put together 2 touchdown drives. And it's like, oh, okay, so you do know how to do it. You just kind of waited until the fourth quarter to kind of try and show up. I do think for Vrabel's first ever head coaching appearance in the Super Bowl, I do think he coached a little conservatively at times. I think there were a couple times where I'm like, you probably should go for this, or be a little more aggressive on third downs, especially in a game where even though it was 12-0, it was very confident 12-0. Seattle had shown that they can put drives together to get points, and you hadn't. And the one time you had a decent drive and you were at, I think you're on 45, you punted it. It's just, at some point you gotta try something. You gotta throw a trick in the bag. You gotta do something just to try and build some momentum, because your defense eventually is going to bend and break, and that's what happened. I'm not going to say this loss is really on the Patriots defense. I think it's more so on the offense. Receivers were dropping passes for the Patriots. The offensive line could not block to save their life. There was no run game. And Drake May, I understand he threw a couple picks and had a couple fumbles, but they're not all entirely his fault. I'm not going to say some of them aren't. The one pick he threw, that post route that was going to turn out to be open, he threw it straight at the free safety instead of leading the receiver to the open space. It's a bad throw. But I do think it's partially because his internal clock is being sped up. So he's thinking he's got to hit him in stride right now. And it's just, in college you can get away with that stuff. You cannot do it in the pros. You cannot do it against the pros. And, let's take a step. Let's just take a little bit of further step back. How much can we really blame Drake May for this game? I do think Drake May did not help his team a whole lot, but this was the biggest game he's ever played in his career. He didn't play in big games at UNC, and even when he got to the slightly big games, he wasn't necessarily the best. He was solid, but he wasn't the best. And then we go through their entire regular season, and the teams they were beaten up on were not very good teams. Because then we get to the postseason, he didn't do nothing against the Texans, really. He damn sure didn't do a whole lot against the Broncos. So what were we to expect against the Seahawks? Seahawks are the best team in the NFL, arguably, between them and the Texans. We saw him play the Seahawks once. The only difference is, I say Seahawks, I'm really talking about the Texans here. The only difference is the Texans quarterback's a terrorist. He's the only reason the Texans didn't win that game. If they had a Sam Darnold-ish level of play from their quarterback, they're in the Super Bowl playing in Seattle. And then that's a hell of a game. But they got C.J. Stroud, who just was playing all right back half of the season, started playing a little better, and then gets to the postseason, he's just brain dead. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's just truly I don't know how to just turn into a anti-C.J. Stroud rant, but just conceptually, just because that defense is so good, and Drake May didn't do a whole lot against them. It's just, I don't think this is like the end of Drake May and the Patriots. I think they're going to be all right going forward. They got a whole offseason. They can get better, beef up the offensive line, maybe get them a real weapon threat. The defense, I do think, is really good. The defense is only going to get better. It's a young team. So I'm not really worried about them. Seattle, on the other hand, I'm not worried about Seattle. I'm worried about the rest of the league. Majority of the team is under contract outside of Kenneth Walker, but yet they could afford to pay him. But with the way John Schneider drafts, if they don't, they're just going to draft a guy that's probably going to be just as good. Or they'll find somebody else on the market that's probably cheaper and be just as good. Like, if they don't re-sign Kenneth Walker, it would not shock me if they're able to kind of buy low on, say, a Rico Dowdle, get him on like a 2-year, $14 million contract, and let him be RB1 and he just kills the game. Wouldn't shock me a bit in the world. Wouldn't shock me a bit. And they would still maybe draft a guy. Because then after the 2 years of Rico, the other back should be ready to roll. And then boom, they're just picking up where they left off. That's what happens when you have such a young core that plays so great. They have, honestly, the makings of a dynasty, depending on how a couple of their drafts go, how smart with their money they are, and what are we going to get out of Sam Darnold. Like this year one in this offensive system, it was like, okay, you had your ups and downs, but after you played the second half of the Rams in the second meeting, and you played great the rest of the year. Especially in the NFC Championship. You played phenomenal. Weren't asked to do a whole lot in Super Bowl. It was just don't go out there and lose it for them. And that's what you did perfectly. You managed a great game. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what wins Super Bowls sometimes. In this instance, that's all you needed. He didn't need to be Superman. If he had to, could he have pulled it off? I believe so, with the way he had played the back half of the year. If you said, hey, Sam, we might need 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, I think he could have figured it out. But you didn't need him to. Kenneth Walker had a really good day on the ground. He won the Super Bowl MVP for a reason. He had like 20 carries, 134 yards, broke a record for most rushing yards in a Super Bowl. I still would have given it to Myers. Myers had a hell of a game kicking the ball. There was a stat, Myers outscored the Patriots by himself. He broke the record for most points in a postseason. In a postseason? Or in a season? I think he ended with like 200-something points. I'm thinking it's for a full season, which would include postseason. He had a great year. So, I kind of look at all this and I'm like, okay, it was a really good game if you enjoyed defense. If you enjoyed offense, you didn't get a whole lot. You had some great running lanes. Kenneth Walker ran the hell out of the ball. That Seahawks offensive line is phenomenal. You could tell when the Patriots got tired. Middle of the third quarter, they got really tired. And you're like, oh, these 2 to 3 yard runs are turning into 7+. And they just leaned on them. And that's all you had to do. So if I'm Seattle, I'm keeping the core together. I'm trying to be smart with my money. And I'm just trying to keep it consistent. Patriots, just, again, build up the team. Josh Allen. Drake May doesn't really have a real major receiving threat. I like your running back room. Your offensive line needs a lot of help. And just continue to add to the defense. If you can do that, you'll be just fine. Truly, just fine. The only concern for Seattle now is that their OC is leaving to join, that's Clint Kubiak, son of Gary Kubiak, former Broncos head coach. Clint is leaving for the Raiders job. So the Seahawks are looking for an OC. That's the only thing that concerns me, is going from a great OC to a new OC. I'm worried there may be a potential Eagles-ish vibe. Like, the team would be really good, but it's not quite the same just because, you got a new OC. You're trying to basically reinstall an offense. But there are reports recently that they're trying to hire in-house, so they're probably going to try and get somebody who worked under Kubiak. They can keep the same system, so on and so forth. So we'll see how that goes. But I think if you keep a lot of your pieces together and you keep the similar concept of offense with the way your defense plays, you'll still be just fine. But I am interested to see what Kubiak's going to do in Vegas. He's got number 1 pick. He's got a hell of a defensive end in Max Crosby, who, some weeks sounds like he's going to be there. Some weeks he wants out. He comes from a great lineage of drafting and good coaching. So I'm interested to see the type of staff he puts together. And, obviously we know what he's going to do with first overall pick. He needs a quarterback. Unless he likes Geno, which he worked with Geno, so he might like Geno. So who knows? They could trade away the first overall pick and get a haul. I doubt it. I imagine they don't like the money they're paying Geno, and they're just going to draft Mendoza, which I think is kind of the consensus at this point. But walk through a hypothetical with me. Okay? Let's say they trade the pick. Right? Let's just say they trade the pick. Say they trade it to the Jets. Jets move up a spot, get number 1 pick. You move down to number 2. You can then maybe acquire another first round pick next year, or actually no, don't Jets have 2 firsts this year? Maybe the Jets give up another first this year. Right? So you get to move down a spot. Mendoza goes 1, whatever. Okay. At number 2, you can get a great defensive player. You maybe get one of the top wide receivers, offensive tackles, and try and build around Geno. You could go that route. We've seen if you put a good team around Geno, he'll get you to the playoffs. But in that division, I don't think it's going to work necessarily that way. They probably are going to go with Mendoza. He's kind of seasoned. He is a pretty good quarterback. I still worry about some of his progressions and reading defenses, because in Indiana, he wasn't asked to do it a whole lot. It was more so half-field reads. But that's for a different video, different conversation. You might want to go with Mendoza just because you look at the rest of that division. You're like, okay, we got to play Mahomes twice, Bo Nix twice, and Justin Herbert twice. They all have great coaches, offensive coaches. You might need a star quarterback in that to compete in that division. And they're probably leaning towards that Mendoza can be that star quarterback. Fair enough. He also is the only good quarterback coming out in this year's class. So, take that with a grain of salt. So, a lot of interesting things going with the Raiders, especially on defense. And when we talk about defense, potential defensive rookie of the year runner-up, James Pierce Jr. His career is dead. I'm calling it here. His career is done. Dead. Dead in the water, okay? The reason why, after the honors show, I think it was day after the Super Bowl, day before the Super Bowl, something, came out he'd been arrested. I'm like, okay. What was he arrested for? Because there are NFL players that get in trouble with the law. We're like, okay, let's see what he did. Was it just DUI? Did he kill anybody? Yeah. No, he went ape shit and was ramming his Lamborghini or Ferrari, one of those cars, into his now ex-girlfriend's vehicle to stop her from going to the police station because she had broken up with him and he wasn't taking it and was getting very violent with her. And it's like, dude, what are we doing right now? You are 21, 22 years old. You were just in the running for Defense Rookie of the Year. You had a great year as a rookie. I think you had 10.5 sacks. You could have made the argument you should have won it. And it's like, this is what we're doing? This is what we're doing right now? I'm keeping a buck with you. Just let her go and move on. You got a whole career ahead of you, and now you're looking at some potential serious time and your career being done. She's already come out and said she's going to testify against you. She's got evidence. They got video of you ramming into her car several times and then you getting arrested trying to resist it. It's just not a good look. And I know if I'm Atlanta, you're probably sitting there thinking, what the hell's going on? You traded back up into the first round last year to draft him because you drafted Jalen Walker first. Traded back up to get James Pierce. Both of them were really good for you. James Pierce is the reason you don't have first round pick this year. Because you traded up to get him and gave up this year's first. So now you're going into this offseason with no first round pick, potentially losing a potential star defensive end because of off the field activities. You're about to cut Kirk Cousins and still owe him a lot of money with a new head coach. Right now, you're kind of leaning towards dumpster fire because it's like, what do you do? Your defense isn't getting much younger outside of a couple areas. You don't know what you got at quarterback. Michael Penix shows flashes of being good, and then next week falls off. Your superstar tight end, Kyle Pitts. See how I said superstar there? He's all right. Anyway, he's in free agency, so you got to fill in that void. Drake London's coming off of a banged-up year, but he's still great. Your offensive line's solid. Bijan just had a great year. He's due money at some point. What do you do? You're kind of in like a rock and a hard place with that. I don't know. I don't know what you do. I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, I kind of do. I'd cut him. Find a way to maybe get back in the first round this year. Maybe move off of a older piece that still has some value. Maybe you swing and get a first this year. And draft another defensive end. There's quite a couple good ones in this draft. Maybe you move off of an older offensive lineman, go draft a defensive end, get an offensive lineman in the second round. You hit on a second or third round pick in Matthew Bergeron, Syracuse legend. And try and rebuild. Because I don't really see a world where James Pierce plays football anytime soon. That's my personal opinion. That's what I'm sticking with. Insane things. And now we're in the sad part of the year of the offseason. I say sad part. There's really only downtime for a month, and then we're going to get ready for the combine, get ready for the draft. All fun things. And I cannot wait to go over it. I'm going to put together little scouting reports over all the positions, probably my top 3 to 5 guys. Do a little mock draft. I'll probably do one before the draft, before the combine. Then one before coast, after combine. The one after combine is probably going to be the closest to what I think is going to happen based off of combine, the news we're hearing, who's supposed to be getting workouts with who, XYZ, all that good stuff. And then the draft. And that'll be great. All while trying to stay on top of college transfer portals, which, since the portals finally closed, outside of the Darian Mensah, Cooper Barkate going to Miami, there hadn't been a whole lot going on. Not been a whole lot of noise going on in the college world right now. I think a lot of the coaching staffs are kind of just getting ready for spring ball. There's been some conversations about, are they going to expand the playoffs? Are they going to meet and talk about it? Which it sounds like they are, but nothing would go into effect this year outside of the new format where if Notre Dame is ranked, they're automatically in a playoff spot, which I believe is complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. You're telling me they get to make their entire season schedule because they're independent. If they go 10-2 and they're 23rd, they're just automatically getting a playoff spot with the 4 power conferences. Because now, if you win a Power 4 conference, you automatically get in now. That's going to go into effect, and then we're just going to throw Notre Dame in there. I don't like it. I think we should if I'm the NCAA, I am forcing a way to get Notre Dame to go into a conference. And the one that probably makes the most sense is honestly the ACC. Because if I look at Notre Dame, I'm like, if we join the ACC, we probably are easily tied for the favorite to win it. Because let's be honest, who is really competing with Notre Dame right now? We would say maybe Miami, Clemson, potentially SMU, and then you got the couple off-ball teams that can pop up and be good, maybe an NC State, maybe a Virginia Tech. But it would easily be Notre Dame, Miami, Clemson. That's your top 3. So you would still get a free playoff berth if you win the conference. It would make the ACC better. There'd be more top dog tiered teams that are getting talked about nationally. I think it'd be better for the sport, personally. But the NCAA doesn't have a backbone to force them to do that. That's all I got for you today. If you're new here, subscribe, hit the notification button, let you know we're posting more content. If you've been around for a minute, like the video. Let me know what you're doing for the offseason, because if you're not really into basketball or baseball, it's going to be a long 7 months. It's going to be a long 7 months. 7? February, March, April, May, June, July. 7 months. Let me know what you're doing. And until next time, deuces.